What would you do if saving the person you love most meant killing the person you love most? In the shadows of a medieval castle, a queen faces the most impossible choice a woman can face. Her father has been captured by a rival duke, and the ransom demanded isn't gold or land, it's her husband's life. The duke's message is crystal clear. Poison the king slowly, make it look like natural illness, or watch your father die screaming. She has 3 days to decide. But here's what makes this story truly devastating. She genuinely loves her husband. This isn't a political marriage or a loveless arrangement. She chose him. He chose her. And now she must choose between the man who raised her and the man who completes her. The poison arrives in a small crystal vial, colorless, tasteless, undetectable. Just a few drops each day in his wine, and within weeks, the kingdom will mourn their beloved king's mysterious illness. What she doesn't know is that this is only the beginning, because once the king is dead, the duke plans to claim not just the throne, but his grieving widow as well. This is the poison pact, where love becomes murder, and mercy becomes the cruelest weapon of all. Stay to discover if a queen's heart can survive the ultimate betrayal, even when she's the one committing it. The message arrives at midnight, delivered by a hooded servant who disappears into the castle corridors like smoke. The queen breaks the black wax seal with trembling fingers. Her father's handwriting is barely legible, clearly written under duress. But the words are clear enough. My daughter, I am prisoner of Duke Blackthorn. He offers you a choice, my life, or your husband's. Attached is another note, this one in the Duke's cruel script. Your father has 3 days to live unless you accept my terms. I require the king's death, but it must appear natural. Enclosed is what you need. 3 drops in his evening wine every evening. He will weaken gradually as if from illness. Refuse, and your father dies slowly. Very slowly. The queen stares at the small crystal vial that came with the message. The liquid inside is clear as water, innocent as morning dew. She uncorks it and sniffs. Nothing. No scent of death, no warning of what it contains. Her hands shake as she reads the final line. When your husband is dead, I will come to claim what should have been mine, the kingdom and its queen. Footsteps echo in the corridor outside her chambers. The king is returning from his late council meeting, probably bringing news of another successful negotiation or a new alliance. He has no idea his wife holds his death in her hands. The door opens and he enters, still wearing his council robes, but his face brightens when he sees her. Isabella, you're still awake. The meeting ran longer than expected, but we've secured trade agreements with the northern provinces. She quickly hides the vial in her robes. That's wonderful news, my lord. He approaches and kisses her forehead, the same gentle kiss he's given her every night for 5 years of marriage. You seem troubled. Is everything well? The vial feels like it's burning through the fabric against her skin. 3 drops. That's all it would take to begin killing him. Just tired, she lies. Perhaps we should retire. He nods and begins removing his heavy ceremonial chain. Tomorrow I want to discuss expanding the southern defenses. Duke Blackthorn has been too quiet lately. Quiet enemies are dangerous enemies. If only he knew how dangerous. She watches him prepare for bed, this man who trusts her completely, who shares his kingdom and his heart with her. In a few hours, she must decide whether to betray everything they've built together. The crystal vial seems to pulse with malevolent life in her robes. Tomorrow evening, she will either begin her father's rescue or her husband's murder. Outside, church bells chime midnight. 3 days until her father dies. The countdown has begun. 24 hours later, the queen sits in her private chamber, staring at the crystal vial. She hasn't slept. She hasn't eaten. The weight of the impossible choice is crushing her from the inside. A knock on the door makes her jump. It's Dame Margaret, her most trusted lady-in-waiting. Your Majesty, the king requests your presence at the evening meal. He's concerned about your absence from today's court sessions. The queen's heart pounds. Evening meal, the perfect opportunity. She slips the vial into her sleeve. In the great hall, the king sits at the head table, his face lighting up when he sees her approach. Servants bustle around, filling goblets with deep red wine. "My love," he says, standing to pull out her chair. "You look pale. Are you feeling unwell?" "Just a headache, nothing more." He gestures to a servant. "Bring the queen some honeyed wine. It will help with the pain." The irony cuts deep. He's trying to ease her suffering while she's about to begin his. The meal proceeds normally. Roasted duck, fresh bread, aged cheese. The king talks enthusiastically about plans to build a new hospital for the poor. His eyes sparkle with genuine excitement about helping his people. "We could save hundreds of lives each year," he says. "What do you think, Isabella?" She can barely speak. It sounds wonderful. His wine goblet sits half full beside his plate. All she needs to do is wait for the right moment, add 3 drops, and watch him drink his own destruction. The king reaches for her hand across the table. "You seem distant tonight. Talk to me." Their fingers intertwine. His hands are warm, strong, calloused from sword practice and honest work. These are the hands that have held her through nightmares, that have caressed her face during whispered conversations in the dark. She thinks of her father, probably chained in some dank dungeon, counting down his final hours. "I love you," she whispers suddenly. The king smiles. "And I love you, more than my crown, more than my kingdom. You know that." The words hit her like physical blows. He means every syllable. A commotion erupts at the far end of the hall. A messenger has arrived, mud-splattered and exhausted. "Your Majesty, urgent news from the eastern borders." The king stands immediately. "What is it?" "Duke Blackthorn's armies have been seen moving toward Lord Garrison's lands. It looks like an invasion." The king's expression hardens. "Blackthorn! I should have dealt with him months ago." He turns to the queen. "I must gather the war council immediately. We'll continue our meal later." He leans down and kisses her cheek, then strides toward the door, calling for his generals. The queen stares at his abandoned wine goblet. The perfect moment is gone, but the vial in her sleeve seems to grow heavier. A servant approaches. "Shall I clear the king's place, Your Majesty?" "No," she says quickly. "Leave it. He'll return." But will he? And when he does, will she have the courage to poison the man who just declared he loves her more than his kingdom? The crystal vial burns against her wrist like a brand. Tomorrow night, she'll have to decide again, and her father has only 2 days left. The queen paces outside the war council chamber, her ear pressed to the heavy oak door. Inside, she can hear her husband's voice mixing with those of his generals, but the words are muffled. She needs to know what they're planning. If the king marches to war against Duke Blackthorn, everything changes. Her father might be rescued by force or executed immediately as a warning. The door opens suddenly and Sir Marcus, the king's most trusted general, steps out. He looks surprised to see her. "Your Majesty, is everything well? I was concerned about the king. This news about Duke Blackthorn." Marcus glances back at the closed door, then leans closer. "Between us, Your Majesty, the situation is worse than we're telling the court. Blackthorn has taken more than just Lord Garrison's lands." Her heart stops. "What do you mean?" "He's captured several nobles, taking hostages. We believe he's planning something larger than a simple territorial grab." The queen grips the stone wall for support. "Other hostages. Her father isn't alone in whatever hell Blackthorn has created." "Do we know who he's taken?" Marcus hesitates. "Your father is among them, Your Majesty. I'm sorry. We received confirmation this morning." She doesn't have to fake her shock. Is he alive?" "As far as we know, but Blackthorn is demanding impossible terms for their release." "What terms?" Marcus looks around nervously. He wants the king to abdicate, to hand over the crown peacefully and go into exile. The lie hits her like a slap. Blackthorn told her he wanted the king dead, not exiled. He's playing both sides, offering the War Council one story while giving her another. "That's ridiculous," she manages to say. "The king would never—" "Of course not. which is why we're planning a rescue mission. A small force moving fast and quiet. We strike tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. The same night her father dies if she doesn't act. The council chamber door opens again and the king emerges, his face grim but determined. Isabella, you shouldn't be here. This isn't safe conversation. I heard about my father. His expression softens and he pulls her into his arms. I will bring him home. I promise you that. What if Blackthorn kills the hostages when he sees your army coming? He won't see us coming. Marcus has planned a perfect infiltration. We'll be in and out before Blackthorn knows what happened. But the Queen knows something the King doesn't. Blackthorn is expecting some kind of move. That's why he gave her the poison, why he's pressuring her to act quickly. The King kisses her forehead. Have faith in me, my love. Your father will be home within 2 days. 2 days. The exact deadline Blackthorn gave her. Sir Marcus approaches. Your Majesty, we should finalize the approach routes. As they walk back into the council chamber, the Queen catches a fragment of conversation. If the King dies during the mission, the succession... The door closes before she can hear more, but the implication is clear. They're planning for the possibility that the King might not survive the rescue attempt. Standing alone in the corridor, the Queen realizes the horrible truth. Blackthorn isn't just playing her against the King. He's orchestrated everything. The hostages, the rescue mission, the poison. It's all part of a larger trap. If she doesn't poison the King, he'll ride into an ambush tomorrow night and die anyway. Either way, Blackthorn gets what he wants. The crystal vial in her robe suddenly feels like her only option to save both men she loves. But first, she needs to know exactly what Blackthorn is planning. The Queen slips through the castle's back corridors toward the kitchens. If Blackthorn has someone inside the castle, and he must, to know so much about their plans, she needs to find them. The kitchen servants are preparing tomorrow's meals, but one face catches her attention. Thomas, the new wine steward, hired just 3 weeks ago. He's standing too close to the wine storage, and when he sees her, his hand moves quickly away from the bottles. Your Majesty, he stammers, bowing awkwardly. I wasn't expecting. Just checking on preparations for tomorrow's feast. She moves closer to the wine storage. The King has been particular about his evening wine lately. Thomas goes pale. Has he? I hadn't noticed anything unusual. But his eyes dart to a specific bottle, the King's favorite vintage. The Queen reaches for it, and Thomas steps forward as if to stop her, then catches himself. Is there something wrong with this bottle, Thomas? No, Your Majesty, nothing at all. She lifts the bottle and examines it carefully. The cork has been tampered with, carefully replaced, but the wax seal is slightly different than the others. Thomas, how long have you worked in noble houses? His story starts to unravel. This is my first position, Your Majesty. I came from a farming family. Strange. You handle wine like someone with years of experience, and your hands... She grabs his wrist. These aren't farmers' hands. They're soft, like someone who's never done manual labor. Thomas tries to pull away, but she holds firm. Who sent you? Your Majesty, I don't know what you mean. The wine is already poisoned, isn't it? Blackthorn has been slowly killing my husband for weeks. The blood drains from Thomas's face completely. He's been caught. Please, Your Majesty, you don't understand. Then explain it. Thomas looks around desperately, then leans closer. Duke Blackthorn has my sister. If I don't follow his orders, she dies, just like he has your father. The Queen's mind races. What orders? To weaken the King gradually, make him sick enough that he can't lead the rescue mission personally, but not sick enough to die. Yet? That part was supposed to be your responsibility. The pieces fall into place. Blackthorn has been poisoning the King at a low level for weeks, just enough to make him slightly weak, slightly slower. She was supposed to deliver the killing dose. How long have you been doing this? 3 weeks. Small amounts, just as he instructed. But the King is strong. It's barely affecting him. She thinks back over the past weeks. The King has seemed slightly more tired, perhaps, but nothing dramatic. She attributed it to stress from governing. Thomas, listen carefully. Tomorrow night, the king plans to rescue my father. It's a trap, isn't it? Thomas nods miserably. Blackthorn knows. He's been waiting for exactly this. The rescue mission is supposed to fail. The king is supposed to die heroically. And then Blackthorn claims the kingdom and the widow queen. Yes. The queen releases his wrist and paces the kitchen. Everyone is being manipulated. Her, the king, even Thomas and his sister. Thomas, do you know where Blackthorn is holding the hostages? In the old fortress at Raven's Peak, but your majesty, it's heavily guarded. The rescue mission will be a massacre. She makes a decision that surprises even herself. Not if we get there first. Oh, what do you mean? The queen pulls out the crystal vial Blackthorn sent her. This isn't poison. This is antidote, isn't it? To counteract what you've been giving him. Thomas stares at the vial. I don't know. He just told me you'd know what to do with it. But the queen is already moving toward the door. Thomas, you're going to help me save everyone, starting with telling me everything you know about Raven's Peak. Because she's realized something crucial. Blackthorn's plan only works if everyone plays their assigned roles. Time to rewrite the script. At midnight, the queen slips from the castle dressed as a servant, with Thomas beside her and 3 of her most trusted guards, disguised as merchants. They've told no one about their mission, not even the king. Are you certain about the route to Raven's Peak? She asks Thomas as they mount their horses. 2 hours north through Darkwood Forest. But your majesty, even if we rescue your father, Blackthorn will know someone betrayed him. Let him know. The forest path is treacherous in the darkness, but they push forward. The queen's heart pounds with every step, not just from fear, but from hope. For the first time in days, she's acting instead of being acted upon. Sir Garrett, her captain of guards, rides up beside her. Your Majesty, we should discuss what happens when we reach the fortress. Thomas says there are at least 20 guards. We're not fighting 20 guards, we're using deception. She explains her plan as they ride. Thomas will approach the fortress alone, claiming to have urgent news from the castle. While the guards are distracted, she and her men will infiltrate from the rear. And if something goes wrong, Sir Garrett asks, then the king loses both his wife and his father-in-law. But if we do nothing, he dies tomorrow night anyway. They reach the edge of Darkwood as storm clouds gather overhead. In the distance, Raven's Peak Fortress looms like a black tooth against the sky. Thomas points to the main gate. The hostages are held in the lower chambers. But your Majesty, there's something I didn't tell you before. Her blood chills. What? Duke Blackthorn isn't just holding your father, he's been interrogating him, trying to extract information about the castle's defenses. Is he alive? He was yesterday, but he's not well. Thunder rumbles overhead as they dismount near the fortress walls. The queen can see flickering torches through arrow slits, shadows moving behind stone. Thomas approaches the main gate, while the queen and her guards circle to the back. The plan is simple. Create a distraction, get inside, find the hostages, get out. But as Thomas talks to the guards at the gate, the queen realizes something is wrong. The guards aren't surprised to see him. They're expecting him. It's a trap, she whispers to Sir Garrett. Before he can respond, torches flare to life all around them. Duke Blackthorn steps out of the shadows with a dozen armed men. Your Majesty, he says with mock courtesy, so good of you to save me the trouble of collecting you. Her guards draw their swords, but they're outnumbered 3-1. I must admit, I'm impressed. Blackthorn continues, I expected you to use the poison as instructed. This is much more direct. Where is my father? Alive, for now, but his continued existence depends on your cooperation. One of Blackthorn's men drags a figure from the fortress, her father, barely conscious, beaten and weak, but breathing. Papa, she whispers. Blackthorn draws his sword. "Here's what's going to happen, Your Majesty. You're going to write a letter to your husband. You're going to tell him that you've been captured, and that if he wants to see you again, he must come here alone. No army, no rescue mission. He'll never believe I'd leave the castle without protection. Oh, but he will, because Thomas here is going to deliver the message, and Thomas is going to tell him that you discovered the poison plot and rode out in a rage to confront me personally. She sees the trap now, brilliant and cruel. The king will abandon the rescue mission to come after his wife. He'll ride straight into an ambush, alone and vulnerable. And if I refuse to write the letter..." Blackthorn places his sword against her father's throat. "Then the first person dies, right now." Blood appears on the blade's edge. Her father tries to speak, but only makes a choking sound. "The letter, Your Majesty. Make it convincing." As she takes the quill, the Queen realizes this was always Blackthorn's real plan. The poison, the hostages, Thomas, all just ways to get both her and the king exactly where he wanted them. But he's made one mistake. He's underestimated how much she's learned about deception in the past 3 days. The Queen takes the quill with steady hands, but her mind is racing. She has one chance to warn the king without alerting Blackthorn to her deception. "What exactly should I tell him?" she asks, buying time. "That you discovered the poison plot, that you came here to save your father, and that you're now my prisoner. Tell him to come alone to Raven's Peak at dawn, or you both die." She begins writing, but uses a code she and the king developed years ago for private correspondence. To anyone else, it looks like normal text, but certain words in specific positions spell out a hidden message. "My beloved husband," she writes, "I have discovered terrible treachery in our own castle. Thomas has been slowly poisoning your wine on Duke Blackthorn's orders. I rode to Raven's Peak to confront him and save my father, but I have been captured. Hidden in the letter, trap, bring army, dawn attack." She continues, "Blackthorn demands you come alone at dawn to the main gate, or he will execute both my father and me. Please, my love, do not trust anyone else with this. Act quickly." Hidden message continues. "Rear gate, weak, 10 men." Blackthorn reads over her shoulder. Perfect. Emotional, desperate, exactly what a loving wife would write. If only he knew. Thomas takes the letter, but as he mounts his horse, the Queen catches his eye and nods almost imperceptibly toward the rear of the fortress. Thomas's eyes widen slightly. He understands she's found something. After Thomas rides away, Blackthorn locks the Queen in a cell next to her father. The old man is barely conscious, but he recognizes her. "Isabella, you shouldn't have come. I couldn't let you die for my choices, Papa." Her father grabs her hand with surprising strength. "Listen to me, Blackthorn. He's not just after the kingdom. There's something else. Something about your mother's bloodline." "What about it?" "Your mother. She was the last heir of the old royal family. The one that ruled before your husband's ancestors took power. Blackthorn claims that gives him legal right to the throne through marriage to you." The final piece of the puzzle clicks into place. This isn't just about killing the king, it's about legitimizing Blackthorn's claim by marrying the true royal bloodline. "He's been planning this for years, hasn't he?" Her father nods weakly. "Ever since your mother died, and he realized you were the last link to the old crown." Outside their cell, they can hear Blackthorn giving orders to his men. "When the king arrives, let him get close to the gate. Then surround him. I want him alive long enough to watch his wife become my bride." The Queen closes her eyes and prays the king understood her coded message. If he didn't, he'll walk straight into the trap. If he did, they have a fighting chance. "Papa, can you walk?" "If I have to." "Good, because when dawn comes, we're not going to be here waiting for rescue. We're going to be part of it." She pulls a small dagger from her boot, something Blackthorn's men missed when they searched her. The blade is tiny, but it's sharp enough to work on rope bindings. "How did you—" "Never trust a queen to come unprepared to her own kidnapping, Papa." As she begins working on their bonds, she hears the sound she's been waiting for, horses in the distance. But not just one horse, many horses, moving quietly but quickly toward the fortress. The king got her message. Dawn is still 2 hours away, but the real battle is about to begin. The sound of approaching horses grows louder. The queen has freed herself and her father from their bonds, but he's too weak to fight. She helps him sit up against the cell wall. "Stay here, Papa. When the fighting starts, hide in the corner." "Where are you going?" She grips the small dagger. "To make sure Blackthorn doesn't escape this alive." Outside, she can hear Blackthorn shouting orders. "Positions, everyone. The king is coming alone, just as planned. Remember, wound him, don't kill him. I want him conscious for the wedding ceremony. But the queen knows better. The king never does anything alone." She picks the cell lock, a skill she learned from a thief her husband once pardoned. The door opens silently, and she creeps through the fortress corridors. From a window, she sees the king approaching the main gate. He's alone, just as Blackthorn demanded. But something about his posture tells her he's ready for a fight. Blackthorn appears at the gate with 12 men. "Your Majesty, so good of you to accept my invitation." "Where is my wife?" "Safe, for now, but first we need to discuss terms." The king dismounts slowly. "What terms?" "Your abdication. Sign this document renouncing your claim to the throne, and your wife lives." But as Blackthorn produces the document, arrows suddenly whistle from the forest. His men start falling. The king draws his sword and charges forward. The queen's coded message worked perfectly. The king's army is attacking from multiple directions while he provides the distraction. Chaos erupts in the courtyard. Blackthorn's men are caught completely off guard, fighting enemies they can't see while trying to protect their leader. But Blackthorn is faster than expected. He grabs a crossbow and aims it at the king's back. The queen doesn't think. She acts. She throws her dagger with all her strength. It catches Blackthorn in the shoulder, spinning him around. The crossbow bolt goes wide. "You!" Blackthorn snarls, seeing her in the window. He abandons the fight and races into the fortress, heading straight for her. She runs, but he's faster. He corners her in the main hall, his sword drawn despite the dagger still protruding from his shoulder. "You clever little witch! You warned him! Did you really think I'd let you murder my husband? It doesn't matter now. He's here. You're here. I can still salvage this." He lunges at her, but the queen is ready. She dodges and grabs a heavy candlestick from a table. When he turns to follow her movement, she strikes him across the head. Blackthorn staggers, but doesn't fall. Blood streams down his face. "You think this changes anything? Even if you kill me, my men will execute your father." "What men?" Through the windows, she can see the courtyard. The king's forces have won. Blackthorn's soldiers are either dead or surrendering. The Duke looks around wildly, realizing his position. "This isn't over. I have allies throughout the kingdom. They'll—" His words are cut off as the king bursts through the door, sword in hand. Behind him are Sir Marcus and 12 royal guards. "Isabella!" The king rushes to her side. "Are you hurt?" "I'm fine, but my father—" "We found him. Sir Marcus is getting him medical attention." Blackthorn laughs bitterly. "You think you've won? You have no idea what forces you've unleashed. My death will trigger—" The king's sword point touches Blackthorn's throat. "Your death will trigger a celebration throughout the kingdom." But the queen puts her hand on her husband's arm. "Wait." She looks at Blackthorn. "Tell me about my mother's bloodline, about the old royal family." Blackthorn's eyes widen. "You know." "I know enough. What I want to know is who else is involved in this conspiracy. The information could save the kingdom from future plots. But it also means keeping Blackthorn alive for interrogation. The choice between justice and wisdom, between revenge and strategy. The king keeps his sword at Blackthorn's throat, but his eyes are on his wife. "Isabella, what are you thinking?" "I'm thinking we need to know who else wants me dead because of my bloodline. This conspiracy doesn't end with Blackthorn." The Duke laughs through his pain. "Clever girl. Yes, there are others. Lords who remember the old ways, who believe the true royal line should rule. Sir Marcus steps forward. Your Majesty, we should execute him now and deal with his allies later. But the Queen shakes her head. Dead men tell no secrets. Alive, he can give us names, locations, plans. Blackthorn sees an opportunity. I'll tell you everything, in exchange for my life. The king's grip tightens on his sword. After what you did, the poison, the kidnapping, the attempt on my life, the poison that barely affected you, the kidnapping where no one actually died, I could have killed you both a dozen times over. The Queen realizes he's right. For all his plotting, Blackthorn held back from the final strike. Why? Because I needed you alive. Both of you. Dead martyrs are harder to replace than defeated enemies. It's a cold calculation, but it makes sense. Blackthorn wanted to win, not just destroy. The king looks at his wife. It's your choice, Isabella. Your father was the one tortured. You were the one threatened. She studies Blackthorn's face, bruised, bleeding, but still defiant. This man put her through 3 days of hell, forced her to consider poisoning her husband, almost destroyed her marriage. Thomas, she calls. The wine steward appears, looking ashamed. Is your sister really being held hostage? Yes, Your Majesty. In Blackthorn's castle to the east. She turns back to Blackthorn. Here are my terms. You give us every name, every location, every detail of your conspiracy. In exchange, you live in our dungeons for the rest of your life, and we rescue your innocent hostages, including Thomas's sister. And if I refuse, the Queen picks up her bloodied dagger, then you die right here, and we find your allies the hard way. Blackthorn considers this for a long moment. You're not what I expected, Your Majesty. Neither are you. I expected a monster. You're just a man who made terrible choices. He nods slowly. I accept your terms. 3 months later, the Queen stands in the throne room next to her husband. The conspiracy has been unraveled, the hostages freed, the kingdom secured. Her father, fully recovered, stands proudly nearby. The king addresses the assembled court. Today, we honor the woman who saved not just my life, but our entire kingdom. Queen Isabella showed mercy when she could have chosen vengeance, wisdom when others counseled violence. But the queen knows the real truth. She didn't save the kingdom through mercy or wisdom. She saved it by refusing to be a victim of circumstances, by taking action when action was needed. That night, alone in their chambers, the king holds her close. I never thanked you properly for the coded message. How did you know I'd remember our old cipher? Because you remember everything that matters to you. He kisses her forehead. And you matter most of all. She thinks about the crystal vial still hidden in her jewelry box, a reminder of how close she came to losing everything. The vial she never needed to use because she found a better way. Oh, what are you thinking about? The king asks. About choices, about how the hardest decisions sometimes lead to the best outcomes. And what decision are you making now? She smiles and pulls him closer. To trust that tomorrow will be better than yesterday, and to never let anyone threaten what we've built again. Outside their window, the kingdom sleeps peacefully. The poison plot is over, the conspiracy crushed, the royal line secure. But the queen keeps one secret. The small dagger she carried that night remains under her pillow. Because mercy has its place, but so does being ready to fight for what you love. In the end, Queen Isabella learned something that most of us never have to face. Sometimes the greatest act of love isn't sacrifice. It's refusing to sacrifice at all. When forced to choose between her father's life and her husband's, she didn't choose. She rewrote the rules of the game entirely. Because the most dangerous person in any room isn't the one with the most weapons. It's the one who refuses to accept impossible choices. Duke Blackthorn thought he was so clever, orchestrating this elaborate web of poison and blackmail. But he made one fatal error. He assumed a queen would act like a victim. He forgot that queens are trained from birth to solve problems, not just endure them. The real poison in this story wasn't in the crystal vial. It was the toxic belief that love requires destruction, that saving one person means sacrificing another, that mercy and strength can't coexist. But Isabella proved something beautiful. When you combine genuine love with strategic thinking, when you pair a compassionate heart with a sharp mind, you don't have to choose between the people you love. You can save them all. The king learned that his greatest treasure wasn't his crown or his kingdom. It was having a partner who would risk everything to protect their life together, not because duty demanded it, but because love inspired it. And perhaps most importantly, Isabella kept that dagger under her pillow. Because forgiveness doesn't mean foolishness. Mercy doesn't mean vulnerability. Sometimes the greatest act of peace is being prepared for war. This story makes us ask ourselves some hard questions. When someone threatens what you love most, do you accept their terms, or do you change the game? When faced with an impossible choice, do you choose, or do you create a third option? And when mercy and justice seem to conflict, which one actually serves love better? The truth is, we all face our own versions of Blackthorn's ultimatum. Maybe not with literal poison, but with emotional manipulation, with people who try to force us into corners, who demand we sacrifice our values to protect what we care about. Queen Isabella shows us that the answer isn't always to fight, and it's definitely not always to surrender. Sometimes the answer is to be smarter than the person trying to control you. If this story resonated with you, if you believe that love and wisdom can triumph over manipulation and fear, subscribe for more medieval tales where characters refuse to accept defeat, and discover that sometimes the best way to save everyone is to save yourself first. Because in the end, the strongest kingdoms aren't built on bloodlines or birthright. They're built on people who refuse to let others define their choices.